On today's Minute of the Apes, for a very brief moment, I thought we were going to get an ape agape.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. Sean's over there being quiet with his little red stocking cap on. And Richard, are you gaping?
There is a moment. There is a moment where I really wanted an ape between two trees, giving us just kind of that thing. And there's a perfect spot in this for it. And we didn't get it.
If we predict that there might be someone who offers the gaping gaze. Which characters are going to be? What's your bet right now? Is it going to be this silverback?
No, it would have to be some flunky for
General
Thade.
I'm going to go for Paul Giamatti. I think he might give us a little gaping ape at some time.
I could see that. Yeah.
All right. How are you guys doing today? It's Tuesday, right? Sean, did you get your morning beer?
I didn't just yet. I'll get one tomorrow.
Okay. He's looking into the future that he'll have one tomorrow.
Yes.
Richard, are you still drinking another White Claw?
He's still nursing one from yesterday.
I'm nursing yesterday's White Claw. So it got a little flat.
It's a little warm.
It's a little warm, yeah.
I had a discussion with somebody that I've always admitted to that my wife and I have done Weight Watchers forever. We go every day, partially with her diabetes and stay on top of that. And I mention all the time, my struggle is not sweets and whatnot. It's salty foods, chips, beer, wine. I had somebody come up to me, even though I tell them I like very bitter beers. I like things that just almost peel your tongue off, right? This guy comes up and goes, "You ought to try one of these seltzer type things. They're really easy to drink." I'm like, did you fucking listen to anything I just said? That's like the antithesis of that, right? So when I hear that, I probably need to try those at some point, but they always hit me as they're not going to be flavorful enough for what I usually like.
For me, because I can't smell, I don't smell them. And so I don't get, they all just taste like seltzer water to me. I don't get any flavor out of it.
I could see that, yeah. Because
I don't smell it.
It's a hint of flavor.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's not really like a fruit punch or anything like that.
So for those that may be new, Sean does not have the sense of smell. He is not like
born that way.
He is not like my wife, who lost the majority of hers due to COVID and is still never come
not back.
The lovely thing is she can't smell farts.
There you go.
Dogs can go by her and she's like, I don't smell anything.
Richard,
what kind of gift is that?
That's what I thought too. You just walking through somebody's ass blow.
Last week, Richard, we were in your car heading down here, and you're like, "Well, I'm sorry, the car's a little bit of a mess, and it stinks because I was working out." I was like, "I don't care. It doesn't bother me."
My truck smells like a gym locker because I'm coming and going
from
the
work
gym
out
half the time, and I'm sweating in it, and it's fabric seats, and I still put a towel down, but it still stinks. You ever had a Coors?
Yes.
This tastes like a Coors.
Then I probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah, it's basically just a very pale hint of a flavor.
Okay.
On top of a slightly carbonated beverage, it tastes like a Coors, legit.
It's funny you mentioned that. Abby goes to school in Boulder, Colorado, which is just 20 miles away from Golden, where they make Coors, and so she's gotten into that. The original brew of it now called Banquet. Do you like that? Now I'll try it with her. And it's not that I'm ever being snobby. I don't like. Well, let me tell you. It's not flavorful enough for me.
It's not rich. It's not a rich beer.
No, and I like don't give me a
dark
saison.
Or rich. Well, you may be using the wrong phrase, but something a little more.
I really like IPAs and pale ales, and even a Pilsner. If you go to the Richard Pilsner Quell, is the one that's the original. It's very bitter up front. I like that. I like that flavor.
Bitter up front, party in the back.
One of the Monty Python guys, I can't remember which one, said a joke of how is American beer like having sex in a boat? They're both fucking close to water.
That's very true.
That's true.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. All right, that's enough beer talk and all those kind of things.
We should have saved that for in between.
Beer talk.
Well, maybe we'll come back to it.
Let's do this minute of beer talk.
But hey, here's what I like about this, and I've always said it. We talk about movies a lot, but we're also three friends that like talking to each other.
True.
There we go. Minute 47. Sean, tell us what's going on.
All right, we start minute 47 with Ari saying now and ends with Davidson recovering from being taken from behind.
All right, here. Wait, let's go back to what Richard and I said. Hey.
watched 2 very different minutes.
I think we all watch the same. It's just the way he interprets it is a little different than you and I.
I can't.
All right, here it comes, minute 47. Marky Mark in the Planet of the Apes.
No.
That's where I flew in.
You did that?
No, my retro burners.
Sure, you'll explain everything.
There's no way to explain what can't exist.
Talking monkeys can't exist.
Apes. Monkeys are further down the evolutionary ladder. Just above humans.
Calm down.
As of minute 47, we have an Oberon's worth of apes and humans, 2 displaced pods worth of humans and apes, while humans, Ape City, minus 2 gorillas, and humans still on the loose.
So we start with the conclusion of the over-the-shoulder shots within the lava region with the ape head coming out of it. Our escapees then scamper off into the woods, and we get a moment of a gorilla. We don't really know who it is, but we can tell the gorilla head.
Yeah.
Coming and making a snort as they happen to just step out at the right minute so they can watch them run into the woods. We get a pan across. We see a trail area that is ripped apart trees and a little cascaded area that goes into the glade where we presume it's the same one where Leo crashed. We see them pointing around. Leo then begins to walk off into the very lush green jungle area. We get a jump of our silverback crashing down on him as they have their confrontation about the evolutionary chain of monkeys, apes, and humans. We then end with a semi-wide shot of most of our band of explorers. So, off the top, nothing much to say about the end of that conversation.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is she says she can't quit now, but she technically could. She could go back and say the humans coerced her because we know Thade is trying to cover for her as well. So if she wanted to quit, I think she could quit and go back.
Well, okay.
I mean, they would cover for her. 100%.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that necessarily.
Yeah.
So, 2 things that really, to me, in that need to be the beginning points of conversation. We see this gorilla come into the frame, camera right.
Where was he the whole time?
So let's start there.
Yeah.
If that is Atar.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, I said if it's Atar.
Okay.
If it's Atar, shouldn't they have said, follow them? Tell me what you see. Okay.
Yeah,
now,
we never
now
saw
him
them
stepping
sending off men to track them down.
He comes and we don't even know. We didn't even know anyone was following. You don't have
This
a
was
threat
supposed to be
like
a
that.
secret. This was supposed to be a secret way out that nobody knew about, and now we've got somebody following them and hiding somewhere and sneaking out somewhere, but should been seen the whole time.
Well, the silverback, when she says, I can't now, and moves away, he looks at her, and for whatever reason, he looks to his left at nothing, and then follows her. And then as this shadowy figure comes in from his right side, I'm like, what was he looking at? Why did he just...
Was there a sound that drew his attention?
Was there something? Could he have looked left and looked right to make sure they were clear and then go, and then the figure creeps in?
That's true.
So-
Really, if he's not looking at anything, he probably should just look down and almost like disgust, like,
Right.
I can't
So
believe
he
she's being
turned
like this.
and looked at something like something was there.
Right.
And then just followed her instead of being on the lookout. If he'd looked left, looked right, and then somebody came from the shadows as he's walking away, then we know that they're being followed.
If he looks there and then actually looks around the corner like, did I hear something? Is someone following us? Then when he leaves and someone steps out, then those kind of things pay off like that. Otherwise, this just seems like
this thrown-in moment of this person stepping out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's going to pay off later on down the line.
It's thrown in because we need it to happen. It doesn't happen organically. We need it to happen.
Yeah, so as much as y'all were liking the ape head in the previous minute, since it was the only structure there, they should have had like a bunch of ape heads or maybe more body parts where you see like an ape arm made out of lava. That way, it would be more natural for this person to have a hiding place, because just having that one head and everything else flat around it, this person had to come out of the same tunnel that they did, then loop around the structure or something to hide from them while they all run out, and then come out and.
I love this fantasy of body parts, like it's a murder of apes. Like,
what I imagined when let's talk about that ape head again. When we talked about that, that there have been things in Game of Thrones where there's these big things, statues hanging up. The Lord of the Rings famously has, and I'm not a Rings fan enough to know, but those two, almost like gladiator type things that when you go into one area, they're meant to ward off people. We're big and we're powerful. We make these statues. That would be cool. Let's say if it had been a statue that had fallen. And maybe it's like, I could see that.
Yeah.
Here's what I just don't fucking get. The minute this gorilla steps out, is this really a secret way out of the city? And a secret way out of the city just happens to be the biggest crevice in the wall that you're telling me no one's ever gone. I wonder what the fuck that goes to. It's the silliest bullshit.
He comes out of the forest. If Thade had left those two apes alive to guard the area, then this would make sense who this person could potentially be one of the guards. But he didn't. He killed them as far as we know, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who this person is. I don't know where he came from. I don't know if it's Atar. We didn't see him step from outside the structure. He just pops out from behind some trees. Like, it's very odd. I made the reference to the Ape Agape because I almost wanted the battle for the Planet of the Apes. No, Beneath the Planet of the Apes moment where we had that ape between the two trees going, that's what I was hoping for.
It's true. I see where
it's just out of nowhere and doesn't really have any meaning at this particular point.
Would have been interesting if maybe Thade is playing this whole thing because he wants them to escape, to lead them to this because he wants that. I could see him having a desire like...
But Thade already knows about that. I mean, Thade was here. He doesn't need to be led here. He already knows about this place.
But maybe he's found out... He didn't see Leo crash. He doesn't know there's a pod down there. If he somehow knew something Leo had where they saw technology or something and smashed it at the first of it, and he's... I wonder what else he might have. There could be an interesting idea of a little subterfuge of let them go.
We have no sense that Thade knows that what he came upon was related to Leo.
Right.
Other than Leo is different.
Right.
We also we could have a sense that Thade might be wanting to frame Leo for the murder of these two apes. Therefore, that would give him power and incentive to do what he wants to do, get retribution against the humans. But we're given none of that.
Right.
We just have this moment of this ape appearing out of nowhere.
Think of at the end of the original film when Zaius takes Taylor into the cave and they see the artifacts from humankind buried within the dirt. Thade could have that kind of moment, like realizing there's something beyond what we have, or maybe he's collected things. Maybe over time he's found these elements.
Well, we know about
they
that
could do
gun.
that.
So yeah, if Davidson had a similar gun,
right?
So he could say, "Wait, I've seen this before."
And I want them to lead me
to
that would be interesting. And you're almost taking an element from the end of the film and putting it at the first and making it a journey, an idea of what they're after. I don't really have a clue what anyone except that Leo wants to find his spaceship at the bottom of the lake.
And speaking of which, okay, they might not have ever heard of a spaceship, and it might be a foreign term to them, but retro burners doesn't mean anything to them either. Why don't you tell them I came in a spaceship and it crashed through all these trees? Instead of saying, I didn't do that, my retro burners did it.
Have we jumped to that dialogue? Are we on that dialogue moment? I was trying to read the script to see if they actually had somebody appearing out of the woods, and if it was supposed to be somebody specific, and it's not in there. They were supposed to be feeling like they were being chased, and were supposed to run briefly. But they don't see anything.
Okay, I use Star Wars so often, but think of the moment, and it's such cheesy dialogue. But when Han, Chewie, Leia, and Luke are on the Death Star about to go to the Millennium Falcon, did anybody follow you? And they're doing that kind of thing. You have the characters. I feel like we're being followed. Say it, fucking say it. Then show me somebody creeping around. Give them a reason. That person should have heard little hints of motion behind them. We need to go. That aside, then we cut over to before Afterburners. We get the shot of the trees that are decimated, just completely torn apart, burned.
The tunnel down.
Well, I couldn't quite see that. I just kind of see weird forest swamp. I was expecting somebody to go, help you, I will.
Okay, I do expect that too.
I thought Dagobah. I literally looked at this and thought I was in Dagobah.
So you see the little area where the trees are torn away, and we see some stuff behind it. To your point, I felt like instead of Leo just being dismissive of it, I felt like all of the apes should be looking like, what did this? And they just sort of passively, oh, look at this. And Afterburners.
Retro burners.
Retro burners. Why doesn't it say, what's a retro burner?
Yeah.
Someone say that to him.
Well, then you get the weird line of the next one about it he can't show you something that there's no way to explain what can't exist. He hasn't even told you anything about what it could potentially be, and you're already dismissing it.
Well, he says that's where I flew in. Do they even know what flew means and what?
I'm assuming they know what flying means because there would be birds and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's where I flew in.
But a human can't fly.
Right.
It's no different than the first film when they're, almost laughing at Taylor trying to explain that he came from a region of basically their map.
And that made me think of that. This trying to understand this dialogue kind of made me think of that this is language they didn't necessarily follow. But I want Leo to be more than the protagonist. I want him to be the hero, and he's so dismissive when he says, "No, my retro burners." Like it's just really he has no care for the humans that he saved. He has no care for these apes. He just wants to get off this planet, which I can respect. But he's got these ragtag people that may end up having to help him in some way, and he's just so dismissive. No, my retro burners.
Well, I mean, think of it this way: if Richard and I drove up here, crashed into your front yard, and knocked all your Snoopy and Peanut stuff down. And you came out,
Christmas
and you came out and said, "Hey, did you do that?" And Richard said, "No, my truck did it." You'd be like, "Fuck you, you did that."
Right.
No, my accelerator did that.
Yeah, right. I know you did that, Davidson. You would say, "Yes, I did that." Well, you didn't go. My retro burners did it.
In no way do I think what I'm going to say fixes the stupidity of the dialogue here, but it's also Marky Mark's performance.
Yeah.
Because imagine, and I know he would not have been a star, or probably, I don't know what his age is, but not old enough. Somebody like Chris Evans in this role, very heroic, commanding performance that he can give. We saw that with Captain America. He in this role would have embodied a bit more of what you are saying, where he even needs to feel more buttoned up and confident of himself, like he's getting out of here. But instead we get this flat performance where it's so dismissive and not even willing to explore, and people don't ask them questions. What's an afterburner? How did this happen? We finally get a comment about talking apes.
Monkeys.
Talking
monkeys.
We get that. It's like, why hasn't he been saying that shit 30 minutes earlier? He should be making these comments like, what the fuck? Taylor, by that time, it's a madhouse. We don't get him feeling what the F is going on here.
Yeah.
And for him now to just be disgusted by it, it seems so blasé.
He has to overhear Aryan Silverback say, "I'm sure he'll explain everything."
Yeah.
For him to give it, it's a snide comment. Talking monkeys can't exist. He's already walking away from them. He says my retro burners did. He walks away from the conversation, gives no excitement, no interest, no emotion.
Where is he taking them? Yeah.
She has to whisper, "I'm sure he'll explain something at some point," and then he has to go, "Talking monkeys can't exist." I mean, he's just a dick.
Yeah. Completely not ingratiating himself to anybody. He needs to get off this planet. He's going to need some help, probably.
Technically, you should say talking monkeys shouldn't exist because talking monkeys do exist, so you can't say they can't exist.
True.
Yeah. Anyway,
I want to take exception also with a cut in the film, which is when our Silverback jumps to pounce on Leo.
And again, he looks very weightless when he jumps.
Well, here's my problem with it. And again, I am not editing feature films. I've only been in school to talk about it. I do still edit some television, and where I cutting on a character, the moment that he begins his downward arc, the moment is when I cut to the reverse of him falling, because this is where the weightlessness, I think, Sean, comes in. He jumps, and then he actually begins quite a bit of the descent down. If you had taken just when he goes up and his legs flail out, right? Mm-hmm. If you had cut there, probably taking off about 20 frames, which is almost a second, and cut to the fall. That action when he would not have felt weightless, and it would have been immediately on him.
Right.
The edit in this, I'm like, that just feels sloppy as shit. It even loses. You have bad dialogue. You have bad action because it doesn't feel real and it feels kind of silly.
Well,
cartoonish.
We talked about we wanted to see Ari in a tight of that moment when she or wide when she had the anger moment. We can see her full figure.
Right.
This is one that would have worked by getting a tight of his face as he's angry. We see the start of the leap to your point, and then we see him snarl.
That is true. I didn't even look at the start of the cut.
But we don't. But I'm saying, if we had gotten that, if he starts the leap and then we see the snarl as he descends upon Davidson,
he does
would and take out the full body weightlessness aspect of it. It might be better.
So what we get is Leo makes this comment, and that's an over the shoulder. We see Ari, we see Leo walking away. We probably, I guess, we don't even see the silverback in that frame. It cuts in on a one shot, and the silverback steps into frame, center of frame. And doesn't even grimace, doesn't do anything. He just all of a sudden does the, Superman push to jump and fly. And that's all of that together. You're right, Richard. We should have seen him snarl. We should have seen something where it's like anger. But instead, it's just doing, punk. And it's weird.
Also, maybe if Davidson had said monkey a couple of times before this, because
that's a good point.
He pops off. He should have been like, monkey. No, we don't say that. Or monkey, no, yeah. And
True.
You need that
The
rule
rule
of
of
threes.
thirds.
And so the third time, it's like, I've told you.
Could have said that way back in the house.
in the house.
We're not monkeys.
Yeah. Monkey see, monkey do,
But that
something
would
like
require
that.
the script to have allowed Leo to have the what the fuck's going on here moment before minute 47.
So Dana was supposed to ask, I don't understand, you fell from the sky.
She was supposed to ask it.
She was supposed to ask that, and Leo's supposed to quip with my ass on fire, which leads Ari to say, I'm sure he'll explain everything.
I'm sure your ass looks good on fire.
Silverback to say, how can you explain what can exist? Then Leo says, I'll tell you what can exist. You, talking monkeys, this whole place can exist. And then he begins to just follow the soot down into the river. Like there's this whole moment with Silverback jumping and having a thing doesn't really happen, other than Leo saying talking monkeys can exist.
I see. Okay, we talk about we needed the growl and grimace of the Silverback. I think that also one thing that bugs me and I hadn't thought about until now is that Leo just flippantly says, I'll tell you what can't exist, monkeys, talking monkeys.
Right.
He should stop and go, I'll tell you what shouldn't exist. It's almost like a Harrison Ford kind of finger in your face, talking monkeys, and then storm off. You're building that. And there's no build. It's just, I think even more than the simple weightlessness is that it just like the rule of thirds, there's no build into this moment. It's just going punk. And it's because they knew they could do it. We then see the Silverback on Leo's back, growling into his face. We've got the one human slave with the spear.
Right.
Did we see him have a spear earlier?
Not that I remember.
I don't remember, but I don't know.
Again, you can't have a gun in your hand if I haven't seen you at some points at least wearing it on your hip or that you've pulled it in. That just seemed all he would have had to do is a shot of him pulling up. Well, that's a convenient twig that I could use.
I mean,
as a spear.
we had Chris Christopherson, try and grab a spear from somebody, but we didn't see him grab the spear.
And we didn't see this guy. So then they basically get the Silverback off of Leo, and we see Ari kind of
Silverback off.
We see Ari leaning to him, and
Silverback.
And she really seems to care about this character, and Helena moving in almost to calm him.
Well, she does say, "Calm down."
So it's not. It's this dialogue is not in the script, and I really am curious about apes. Monkeys are further down the evolutionary ladder, just above humans. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the fact that there didn't really seem to be a class structure among the different types of apes they had in the film, right? In the previous one, we had
like
very
the
much
orangutans were scientists or
Correct.
politicians,
Right.
and
the
chimps were kind of the scientists or workers, and then the gorillas were
the military.
Right.
Yeah.
So this distinction between apes and monkeys is just unnecessary.
True.
I don't really understand why I would have needed to
Well, I
have
think they're
seen
trying
monkeys.
to explain why we don't see any characters that have a tail. Monkeys have tails, and so they're all apes. They're not monkeys.
I mean, it literally wasn't in the script anywhere.
because I think we had talked about this.
We're creating an evolutionary structure here that we haven't been introduced to yet, other than the fact that apes are more dominant over humans. And I'm like, what are monkeys?
I think we've talked about it in previous movies, but the first three, they obviously developed makeup for three different species. But why aren't there spider monkeys? Why aren't there other breeds of monkeys out there? Why are only three different types of apes doing stuff? And now, the future movies, we'll find out why the apes are the way they are and why monkeys aren't necessarily evolved as that. But
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because it came to mind with something Richard was saying earlier, and where this one feels like I'm not saying this is the case, but it feels like they are basing the ideas of this structure of a story off of their recollections of a film. The next three, there is no question that these filmmakers sat down and said, how do we
get to Planet of the Apes?
And here are the things that are going to be important in these films, and we're going to build this world. And when you finally see these, Richard, I think you'll see there's no question that they built a map, and they said, even though it changes one director, then Matt Reeves becomes the director of the last two.
Yeah.
There is no question that they said, here are the things that have to happen.
Okay. Why are apes smart? Why are humans stupid? Why did the world go to shit? And they answer all those questions.
And it'll. I'm not saying we won't find imperfections in it. It just is going to feel so much more logical to that point.
And we close this minute out with her saying, "Calm down, will you?" which did not need to be said at all.
Right.
It was very kind of like a "calm down, will you?" It was a weird. It's not in the script. It's a weird line. Well, she doesn't need to say it.
Yeah.
He comes. He gets pulled off of Leo, and he's just like, "Oh, Mom." It was weird.
It is kind of weird. I won't lie.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at him, he kind of looks like he's pouting a little bit, like he's upset at himself for getting angry. Maybe this is one of these things where he used to be a very
have anger
issues,
ape management issues.
Yeah, and so now he's addressed it. But you called me monkey one too many times, and
it's funny you say that because during this whole conversation I went back and thought of how do you pepper in those monkey things. You know, Leo could be like, are you swinging from trees? And then if he said monkeys swing from trees, they have tails. You know, those kind of things, then that builds that in too. And even in that, Helena should be there witnessing how this is a touchstone for him. She doesn't need to say calm down. If it was simply a friend's hand on the back and he looks and he's like, if that's already existed, then that language is there and we understand.
Also, Davidson works with apes supposedly professionally. Ooh. So he should know the difference between ape and monkeys. So he's calling them monkeys on purpose.
He should be, if he works with monkeys, he should be so fascinated by what he's experiencing right now.
Ooh,
but you see what I'm saying? He should at least be, as a scientist or whatever, or
I cannot believe they were
just fascinated by what's happening around him.
I got an idea for Leo's character.
He's
not really a scientist. He is doing the science stuff. He is a former crack pilot. The best in there, but
I thought you were going to say crackhead.
Crackhead. He got assigned to this place because he was too cavalier. He was too nonchalant about these things. So that's where his anger towards monkeys and all that come from. That could be easily built into the first of the script. It could be easily done. That would make sense. That would be, why is he so dismissive of monkeys and apes? But it ain't there.
No.
All right. That's it for me.
Minute 27.
All right. Well, between now and tomorrow, in honor of Sean's comment at the beginning about Leo taking it from behind or whatever, I'm going to show you a cover.
God. I didn't know where that was going.
I'm going to show you a comic book cover of Batman being fucked by a ghost Superman.
Okay.
That actually got published.
All right.
I cannot wait to see that. Okay. That's it.
In the minute. Come on.
Minute 47. I want to look at Batman being fucked by ghost Superman. So everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.